So Doug Ford walks into a press conference, drops jail, not bail like it's the hottest track of 2024, and everyone's supposed to applaud. But here's the thing, rhyming isn't governing. And when your policy sounds more like a nursery rhyme than an actual solution, we've got problems. Big problems. Because while Ford's out here delivering catchphrases that belong on a bumper sticker, people are dying in Ontario jails. Real people. With real families. And the evidence? Well, it's not exactly backing up the Premier's Tough on Crime karaoke session. Welcome back to Canadian Insights, where we're diving into why Ford's jail not bail approach isn't just failing, it's fatal. Let's rewind to December 2016. Solomon Faqiri, solely to his loved ones, is experiencing a mental health crisis. He's got schizoaffective disorder, he's in distress, and there's an incident with a neighbor. What does he need? Psychiatric care. Medical attention. You know, the stuff that actually helps people. What does he get instead? A one-way ticket to Central East Correctional Centre in Lindsay. Not because he's some hardened criminal mastermind, but because there literally weren't any psychiatric hospital beds available. Zero. Nada. The system looked at a man in crisis and said, best we can do is a jail cell. And in that jail cell, guards beat him. In 2023, a coroner's inquest ruled his death a homicide. Let that sink in for a second. A man who needed help got a death sentence instead. Now, you'd think that would be a wake-up call, right? That maybe, just maybe, we'd realize that treating jails like overflow parking for mental health crises is a spectacularly bad idea. But here we are, years later, and Ford's solution to rising crime concerns is to double down on incarceration with a slogan that sounds like it was workshopped by a marketing team with zero policy experience. Jail, not bail. It's catchy. It fits on a sign. It probably polls well with people who don't think too hard about it. But does it actually address the root causes of why people end up in the justice system in the first place? Spoiler alert, absolutely not. Here's what Ford isn't telling you when he's busy playing tough guy. According to a 2022 expert panel report commissioned by Ontario's chief coroner, most people dying in Ontario jails were legally innocent. They hadn't been convicted of anything. They were in pre-trial detention, which is supposed to be a holding pattern, not a death trap. These aren't career criminals we're talking about. These are people caught in a system that's using incarceration as a band-aid for every social problem the government refuses to properly fund. Mental health crisis? Jail. Addiction issues? Jail. Housing instability? You guessed it, jail. It's like we've turned correctional facilities into the world's worst multipurpose venue, except instead of hosting weddings and bar mitzvahs, we're warehousing society's most vulnerable and hoping for the best. And let's be crystal clear about what's happening here. When Ford says jail, not bail, he's essentially admitting that his government has failed to build the infrastructure that would prevent people from ending up in the justice system in the first place. Because if we had proper mental health supports, if we had enough psychiatric beds, if we had adequately funded community programs that could intervene before crises escalate, we wouldn't need to jail our way out of social problems. But building that stuff? That's hard. That's expensive. That requires actual planning and sustained investment. Rhyming slogans, on the other hand? Super easy. Barely an inconvenience. The cruel irony is that Ford's approach actually makes everything worse. Overcrowded jails become pressure cookers where violence thrives and mental health deteriorates even further. People who went in with treatable conditions come out traumatized, if they come out at all. And for what? Because we couldn't be bothered to fund the boring, unglamorous work of prevention and community support. Because soundbites win elections, and nuanced policy discussions about social determinants of health don't exactly set the room on fire at campaign rallies. Let's talk about what evidence-based policy would actually look like, because apparently, we need to spell this out. First, you invest in mental health infrastructure. Not token amounts that look good in a press release, but real money that translates to real beds in real facilities with real trained professionals. You fund community-based programs that can intervene before someone's mental health crisis turns into a criminal justice issue. You create pathways that direct people toward help instead of handcuffs. You know, revolutionary concepts like treating mental illness as a health issue instead of a law enforcement problem. But here's where Ford's evidence problem becomes impossible to ignore. When you look at jurisdictions that have actually reduced incarceration rates and improved public safety simultaneously, they all did it through investment in social supports, not through catchy slogans about locking more people up. It's almost like decades of criminology research means something. It's almost like experts who've dedicated their lives to studying this stuff might know more than a premier with a gift for memorable phrases and an aversion to complex solutions. Solei's story isn't an outlier, it's a pattern. It's what happens when you treat jails as the solution to underfunded healthcare and social services. Every preventable death in custody is a policy failure with a name, a family, a life that mattered. And every time Ford ups for another tough on crime slogan instead of actually addressing the systemic issues, he's choosing politics over people. He's choosing what sounds good over what works. So here's where we are. Ontario's jails are overcrowded, people with mental health conditions are dying preventable deaths, and our Premier's big solution is a phrase that rhymes. It's not evidence-based policy, it's evidence-ignoring theatre. And the cost isn't measured in budget lines or polling numbers. It's measured in lives lost, families destroyed, and a system that's failing the people it's supposed to protect. If this makes you angry, good. It should. Hit that subscribe button, drop a comment telling me what you think, and let's keep having these conversations that actually matter. Because if we don't demand better, we're going to keep getting slogans instead of solutions. And people will keep dying because of it. I'll see you in the next one. We've got about 6 more videos dropping today, so stick around. This is Canadian Insights, where we don't do bumper sticker politics.